All right, good evening everyone. I am Misty. This is Dinner on a Dime and it is time to get cooking dinner in our kitchen. So it is 5 o'clock, roughly 5:08. And tonight's dinner is one that I got inspired to make because of an ingredient I found at my local Tom Thumb. So while you're here, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and most importantly to you guys, make sure you ring the notification bell. That way you get notified when new videos post. Apparently with the new rules of the world, even if you like certain channels, you may not always get their videos. So if you want to make sure that you're not going to miss out, that is the best way to make that happen. So the ingredient that I got inspired by was actually the chicken you saw me get the other day that was 50% off. This was the mango habanero roasted chicken that was already cooked at Tom Thumb. And so I just pulled it all off the bones, I froze it, and then tonight I'm going to use it to make enchiladas for my family. I'm not sure if it's gonna make one pan or if it's gonna make 2 pans of enchiladas. We'll see how far it goes. It made 3 bags of chicken. Sorry, my nose is itchy. I laid out 2, so we'll just kind of see where we go. I have a dozen tortillas in this bag. I have 15 tortillas in this bag. You know, this is the one I told you I buy the big huge bag for $2. This one was ones that I got for 80 cents at Kroger. So still the discount there. And then I'm just using 1 can of green enchilada sauce. This one, I don't remember exactly how much I paid for it. I was comparing it in a Winco video and it was pretty comparable to what I got at Winco. It was way under $1 when I bought it. This is way over $1 now, but when I bought it, it was less than $1. It was good until 2026, and so we're just using it up. We don't want it to sit around and go bad in the pantry. And then voila, the cheese that you saw in last night's video. You've seen this bag a few times now, right? Again, remember, stretching this across multiple meals is going to be a great way to lower your cost impact of it, right? Okay, so all I did was spray a little oil in the pan. Got my oven on 375 because I want my enchiladas to be nice and not crispy, but nice and firm. I don't want soggy enchiladas. So I'm just taking all these tortillas out. Don't be surprised if some of these break as we're putting these together. These have all been frozen, and sometimes that's just what happens when you freeze tortillas. So I would not be shocked by that at all. Also, I'm trying a different position for the camera tonight just so you guys can see more of this. I know my setup in my kitchen is not the best for this purpose, but we're trying our best. I don't think I'm gonna need to cut any of this chicken. It looks like I did a pretty good job when I plucked it off the bone. There's not really any big chunks, so I'm not going to dirty up a knife for it. All right, so how I'm going to make my enchiladas. I used to make a big mistake when I made enchiladas. And the big mistake was I would coat the entire bottom of the pan with the green sauce, green chili enchilada sauce, and it would make my enchiladas very, let me think of the word I want to use, very soggy. They would not get any crispiness to them at all, and so we really didn't like them that way. And so what I do now is I just dot a little bit of the sauce on the inside, and then I will go back and brush the entire outside when we get to that point. So I'm just going to put some cheese and some chicken in each one of these. I'm gonna roll them as best I can. It'll get a little easier the more you have in the pan. So what I kind of like to do is for the first few, I'll just put a stack of my tortillas in here as kind of like a holding spot for the enchilada that I've already got made until I get enough made to have it do it naturally, okay? So again, I'm just putting some chicken on, then I'm using my brush. I'm kind of brushing lightly some of this sauce in the middle because again, we're going to coat these on the outside, and I'm not looking for a ton of the green chili flavor on the inside because these are those, this is that mango habanero chicken, and I really want those flavors to come out in the dish, not just the sauce flavor. So I'm just gonna scoop my tortillas down, my little placeholder tortillas. I'm gonna keep doing that as I go until, like I said, I've got a whole row so that it kind of helps hold it in that way. and then I don't have to do so much of that. So I want to make sure there's a fair amount of chicken in each one of these. There's nothing worse than enchiladas that have nothing inside of them, but there's also nothing worse than an enchilada that's so overpacked that you end up with just a ton of stuff that you're not gonna eat and you just kind of move over to the side, right? So I'm trying not to overfill them, but I'm also trying not to underfill them because that's no bueno either. All right, so just layering these up. I think the laying down 2 bags of chicken was probably a good idea on my part. We'll see how far we get with it, but that's what it's looking like, is that that's gonna be just the right amount of chicken. I had also thought about making sour cream sauce for these because I love chicken sour cream enchiladas. I've never made my own homemade sour cream sauce, but as you saw me use last night, I have that big container of sour cream hanging out from certain things that I've used it for. And so I thought, maybe I'll do some sour cream sauce. But then I was like, no, I don't think I really want to do sour cream sauce. So I'm not gonna do that. Not tonight. Tonight I'm going with something that I know we like and that I know everyone will enjoy and eat, and that is the green chili one. We'll see how well it plays with the other flavors. We want it to play nice, that's the hope, because like I said, I was just kind of inspired. I was like, mango habanero chicken, that sounds very different and very yummy, so let's give it the old college try. And I did taste the chicken when I was pulling it off the bone just to kind of get the flavor profile. I would recommend you do that if you're buying something to freeze for later use so that you understand what flavors you're kind of playing with. Plus, it'll help you to understand if these flavors are gonna be okay for your kids, if they're gonna be too hot for your kids, anything like that, you're gonna know in advance instead of being surprised when dinner's ready and everyone comes to the table and they're like, oh my gosh, these are so spicy, I can't even eat this. Or they say this has no flavor at all, right? That's the opposite piece of it. So I do have some tortillas in here that are tearing up as I'm going. Again, that does not surprise me at all with doing this, but if you can just kind of keep it close, it will be okay. When they're done, it'll be okay, I promise. They may not be the most beautiful enchiladas you've ever made, but they're gonna be tasty, and that's all that matters. At least in my house, that's all that matters. My kids and my husband just want food that tastes amazing. They don't care what it looks like because guess what? They're gonna chop it up and bite into it, and it's not really gonna matter what it looked like. They're not gonna remember anyways. They're certainly not gonna take a picture of it or anything like that. It probably doesn't help that I meant to pull the tortillas out of the refrigerator this morning because I didn't realize I'd put them in there last night with the chicken, and I did not get that done. And so they're pretty cold right now. If they were warm, they would be more inclined to flex. That's just my bad, guys. But I'm rolling with it because like I said, it is already 5 o'clock in the evening, and I'm not looking to still be trying to make enchiladas at 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. So we're gonna just make it work. And we're just gonna make however many enchiladas our chicken makes. If we have a few tortillas left over, that's okay. We will try to find another purpose for them this week, or we will unfortunately throw them away because they've already been frozen, so I'm not gonna try to freeze them again. That wouldn't make any sense. So just gonna keep going here, keep layering. I got unlimited cheese, so we're really just working with how much chicken we've got. That's where we're at right now. Do we have enough chicken to keep going, or are we gonna have to stop before we get done with all these tortillas? All right, I'm scooting in hopefully one more here. I know I'm still breaking tortillas, but it's okay. Like I said, that was my bad. Lesson learned. But I really meant to have that all pulled out this morning, and I just didn't do it. So that's what happens when you get up as early as I do to go to work in the morning. Sometimes your brain ain't quite functioning yet. Didn't have the coffee yet. So it is what it is for today. That's for sure. All right. I think I want one more little piece on that one. So this, I would tell you, get inspired when you go through and you look at the meat clearances and you're like, oh man, the only thing they have is ground pork and I don't know anything to make with ground pork. Get inspired, buy ground pork, put it in the freezer, and then start Googling, okay, what can I make with ground pork? Okay, start figuring it out. What can I use this ground pork for? Because 9 times out of 10, you're gonna find an amazing recipe. You're gonna be really glad that you tried it out. I've done that. I mean, I've never made pork tacos, as simple as that sounds. I'd never used ground pork for tacos until one time I had bought some ground pork and it was hanging out in the freezer and I was like, I really need to get this used and I have no clue what to use it for. And so I just pulled it out and I made pork tacos with it. And we actually discovered that's a way we really like them now. And so we've done it multiple times now. And we would have never done that had I not bought that and just tried it. So I know my mom thinks this is goofy. She, like when I told her mango habanero, she's like, I can't do the mango. And I was like, Mom, it really doesn't have a mango taste to it. I don't know how to describe it. It just gives it a sweet heat, not a crazy mango flavor. It's the best way I know to describe it. Okay, so that's one pan of enchiladas. I think what I'm gonna do is stop there. Maybe we will turn this into like a layered, another type of enchilada that are called stacked enchiladas. We might do that later this week, or we might make another King Ranch casserole and just freeze it so that it's already prepped and ready to go somewhere down the road. That would be okay if we went ahead and did that with these tortillas. So we'll find a purpose for them. I'm just not sure what that purpose is gonna be yet. So I'm definitely not gonna throw them away. I'm gonna put them in a bag. Sorry, and I'm just gonna set them out of the way for right now because I really don't think we're gonna need them tonight anyways. And then what I think I'm gonna do is, actually, I'm gonna brush these first. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna brush all of my tortillas with the green chili enchilada sauce. And like I said, I know a lot of them are broken, so feel free to tell me in the comments if you want that I messed up. I know, it's okay. That's part of just getting in the kitchen and cooking. You're not always going to knock it out of the park, I promise. Sometimes you make mistakes and you just say, okay, I made a mistake. I did that, like I said, you know, I made several pans of enchiladas and froze them, but I made the mistake of putting that green sauce on the bottom. And so it really, they weren't the best enchiladas, but we still ate through them. So, you know, we still made it work. I'm just gonna sprinkle this extra chicken kind of on top of the enchiladas. If you've ever had fajita enchiladas at a Mexican food place, they do a lot of that where they'll sprinkle extra meat across the top. And it's just good that way. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sprinkle some extra chicken across the top. Those look amazing already. Okay, I'm gonna go back over one more time with the sauce. Just make sure we got plenty of sauce on. Plus that way I can kind of smush out the meat a little bit if there's too much in one spot. But I do want to make sure we got plenty of sauce on it so they don't get too dry. Okay, so I'm doing that. Just kind of, like I said, just brushing it on, nothing fancy. This one on the end I'm gonna have to kind of get at with doing it a little different here in a minute, but we'll get to that in just a second. Because it's kind of covered up by a broken tortilla and we want to make sure we get some of this on all of them. So I'm gonna have to just kind of lift you up out of the way so that I can get to the one underneath. Okay. All right, so we've got that done. Now all we're gonna do is sprinkle the top with some more of our cheese. Not a ton of cheese, just enough. So what are we gonna have to go with this? We will probably have a box of Spanish rice and a can of refried beans tonight to go with ours. The refried beans, I didn't pay anything for. I'll be upfront and honest about it. It was on sale at my store, and then there was an Ibotta rebate, and so it made them completely free. I do encourage you to use rebate apps as much as you can to catch deals like that. It's nice to be able to add something into your pantry that you'll use and not have it be super expensive, okay? It's a great way to try new things. It's a great way to get inspired in the kitchen, but don't buy stuff just to buy it. If you're not gonna eat it, don't buy it unless you're gonna donate it. Don't buy it if you're not gonna eat it unless it's gonna be free. And then make sure that you're using it or donating it. But okay, so our tortillas, you saw one package was 80 cents. The other, we probably used like 40 cents of that $2 package. This chicken, we used 2/3 of one bag. It was originally $8.99, but it was 50% off, so 2/3 of that. The cheese, again, $5.99 for this big bag, but we have used it over the course of multiple meals. The green chili enchilada sauce, under $1. So well under $10 for our pan of enchiladas. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw those in real quick, and then I'll show you the beans. All right, beans that we're gonna use, nothing fancy. They are just the Rosa Rita traditional refried beans. They're not in my big pantry because they were free, and I just stuck them in, and I'm like, let's find a way to utilize this and get it back out of the pantry instead of putting it in my big pantry. My big pantry is like a stock up pantry, right? So one little can of something is gonna get easily lost in there if I were to put it in the big pantry. I like to call it my Mega Mama pantry. So if I put it in the Mega Mama pantry, it would be lost pretty easily. All right, the Spanish rice, I'm just doing a box of Old El Paso Spanish rice. All you have to go with it is water, and I believe it's a tablespoon of butter. It's just going to cook on a pan on the stove. I do warm my beans on the stove. I do think they taste better that way when it comes to refried beans. So I'm going to pause because that's got to heat and melt and get all bubbly and good and ready to go. Once those are ready, I'll come back. I'll show you what the rice looks like. I'll show you what the beans look like. I'm not gonna add anything to these beans. I'm going to put them in a pan. I'm gonna let them heat through. And then I told you what's going in the rice. The rice is around $2.50 a box. There's nothing I can do about the price of that rice. It never goes on sale, ever. Sometimes Ibotta will have a deal, like if you buy 3 Old El Paso products, they'll give you 50 cents back or something like that. So if I can catch it and get it that way, I'll do it just so I get the 50 cents cash back. But that's not a sale that's dependable at all. So we just have to suck it up. If we want Spanish rice, we just have to suck it up and pay for it. So, all right, I'm going to go get that down from the other pantry, and I'll be back to show you dinner shortly. All right, guys, just so you can see there's no trickery going on here when I'm not recording for you. All I've done is put this can of beans into a pan. I'm going to mash it down a little bit into the pan so that it can start heating through. I've just got it on the warming burner because it's going to be like 30 minutes until dinner is ready, and I think that will be sufficient to warm it through. If I start to see that it's not going to warm it through, then I will move it to a standard burner, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to be all it really needs. So nothing fancy there, okay? Literally just the can of beans into a pot on the warming burner. Okay, for the rice, you've got, it says 2.5 cups of water and a tablespoon of butter. I do not do the full 2.5 cups of water because it's always too runny in the end. And so for today, I did 2 1/4 cups of water because that's what I like to do, okay? That's just personal preference. So in the rice is going to go, in the seasoning packet is going to go, and there you go. That is how fancy that is and how long it takes to get that cooked to go out. So I'm just stirring it up. You're gonna stir it, mix all of the seasoning packet in with it. That's all you've got to do. You'll want to stir it a little bit as it starts to heat up. You're going to put the lid on it once it comes to a boil, lower the temperature down, simmer it for 25 minutes, stirring it once somewhere in the middle of that process. And that is all you're going to do for the rice. And that's it, simple sides, okay? No trickery involved. All right, y'all, so dinner is done. I just asked my daughter, she is going to wait and eat after she picks my son up from karate. So I'm just going to grab a spatula and I'm going to go ahead and serve myself a plate. My husband is home, he is out in the shop. He got home last night, but he is doing some work on his Impala. So I'm not gonna bother him. He'll eat when he gets done, and that is just fine. So I'm gonna start with one enchilada because I'm not super hungry. We had a big lunch today and I don't want to take a whole lot more than what I will eat when I can leave it in the pan and it can stay warm, right? So I'm gonna get that. I'm a big fan of the rice. I don't eat the refried beans. That's just for hubby and kids. They like to mix their beans and their rice together, and that's their favorite way to eat it. I'm really not happy. My rice kind of stuck in the pan a little bit, which I'm kind of shocked by. I mean, it's loosening up a little bit, but I don't know why it did that. Let's see if I can get it all to come off real quick. It doesn't normally do that, but there we go. I think that's it. I don't know, that's weird, but all right, so there, sorry, is our completed Spanish rice. The beans have just been, I did switch them over to a regular burner on like a 3 for probably about 3 minutes, and then moved them back to the warming burner. So those are nice and warm and ready to go. And this should be cool enough. I can show you our pan of enchiladas. So that's it for dinner tonight. Homemade mango, habanero, green chili, chicken enchiladas. Doesn't that sound like something you would buy at a restaurant, right? Spanish rice and refried beans. So here's what I'm gonna start with. Again, we had a big lunch today. My mom actually picked my son up and brought him so that he could come out and have lunch with me and his dad at work, or at a restaurant near our work, because kids can't come on our work property. But so that was really fun, but that was a big lunch that we're not normally used to during the week. So that's it for dinner tonight, you guys, and I will see you tomorrow night for another What's for Dinner.